Well, good afternoon. It's Longhaultanker, straight razor shaving with Longhaultanker. And I'm still at home, day number 17. I believe that is. Yes, 2 more days, 19. Yeah, I'm going out on Saturday, so that'd be day 2019, I guess it is. So Sunday was day number 14, so 15, 16, today 17. 17 days at home without a load and no income. So that's just it's the longest stretch I've ever had, not having a load. And so challenging. All right, let's get on with the introduction of the equipment. And today's another day where I am shouting out Matt, Lukey 3262, also known as Straight Face Shaved on YouTube. And the 2 razors that I'll be using this morning, the one that he cleaned up for me, the George Wostenholme, little small 4/8 sort of thing. I know you can't hardly see any of the markings on the tang, but there's some there and you can make out the writing. And he buffed it up, polished it up, and put new scales. I say new, they're vintage horn scales. And it's just, he's done a magnificent job, honed it up on JNat stones, and it's just terrific. And the second one, you've seen a little bit of here recently, and that's the Waffenschmidt, which means, I looked it up yesterday, it means weapons smith. This is a Dovo, and it's a beautiful Solingen, Germany, Dovo number 300, and hollow ground, what's that say? Ready for use. So it's just a white plastic scales. It's just a nice all-around razor. He sent that to me to try out and use, and we've come to an arrangement, and I say thank you to Matt for that arrangement. You know what it is, I know what it is, and that's all that matters. All right, and for my soap this morning, I think this is rather in keeping with my front piece if it if it actually loads. And that's Zingari Man Watchman. When I see this, I'm reminded of Ezekiel, Old Testament, watchman on the wall, looking for danger. And we certainly live in dangerous and perilous times. Let me state unequivocally, I do not support vigilante violence, but I am wholeheartedly opposed to what that flag stands for at the beginning of the video, as well as what Bud Light represents and what Dylan Mulvaney represents, and now Target represents, and the list just keeps growing. I saw a headline last night that said that Bud Light is in danger of losing shelf space in the grocery stores because they can't move the product. Yippee! Doesn't hurt my feelings one bit. So being a watchman on the wall, standing for God's truth and righteousness, which is not judgmentalism, it's not condemnation, it's not judging. It's just standing for what God has said. That's why they want to destroy the Bible, remove the Bible. And I believe in God, the God of the Bible, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I believe in Jesus Christ as the risen Savior. And I believe in the Bible as God's holy inspired word, inerrant and authoritative for every age and generation, in every culture. There are none who escape. There are none who are exempt. I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man cometh unto the Father but by me. John 14:6, Jesus said. And so anything that stands in opposition is to be condemned, is to be avoided. He came that we might have life and have it abundantly. He wants us to be happy, and he taught us how through the teaching of his word. And I'm not going to shy away from that. And everything that the modern secular degenerate culture for the last 20, 30 years or more has embraced has been a slap and denial of God's will. And I'm not going to stand for it anymore. And that's all, people say what they want to say in their videos, and people have a right to their opinion, but like Ronald Reagan said so long ago, he said it's not that Democrats don't know anything, it's that what so much that they do know is wrong. All right, let's get on with the shave. So Zingari Man, I'm using a Elite Razor brush. I haven't used this. Do I have that right side up? I can't tell. Yeah, there we go. And the last couple of times it came up in rotation, I skipped it and went on to something else. So it's deserving of use, deserving of a usage. Now, my Watchman, Zingari Watchman, the lid says stormy air and dark skies. Stormy air and dark skies. And it smells quite aquatic, oceanic, and it does have that dirty, I say dirty, yes, it has a dirty smell to it. Not offensive, but you can tell that it's intended to represent a we're getting a nice creamy sort of lather, much like an A&E or something that maybe doesn't have as much lanolin, whatever it is, shea butter, lanolin, whatever it is that gives it the, it's not a tobacco, it's not a Mitchell's wool fat. It's creamy, it's slick, it's supposed to have a high degree of residual. We'll see about that. I have no doubt that's true because the A&E does as well. I find it interesting that the last video that I did a few days ago, I questioned whether or not I would get a copyright warning for playing the sound in the background that I did, and I did not. And so I'm tempting fate again today with jungle sounds and thunderstorms, and I turned it up just a little bit louder because it did, in my opinion, did not come through very loudly. Not that I wanted it to be overwhelming, I didn't, but anyway. So we're going to start with the George Wostenholme. doing just fine. I did say in my last video I've been assigned a new load. It's loading on Friday morning and it's going to Port Hope, Ontario. And if I leave on Saturday morning, that gives me Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, delivery on Thursday morning. They have on-site overnight parking, which is where I intend to be come Wednesday night. And so I got plenty of time. I've been up there numerous times, and it's a 3.5 day trip, running hard, but I'll take advantage of the extra time to not run it as hard and as slow as we are right now. And as I say, trucking and transportation and chemicals as a specialty niche, hazmat chemicals, insightful as to the condition of our economy, because it takes chemicals to make things. And sometimes those chemicals are hazmat in nature. All right, moving to the Dobo. I will say that this Dovo Waffenschmidt was honed up also on the J-Nat stones by Matt, Lukey 3262. Had a nice chat with him on the phone yesterday. I will say between the two razors, the Dovo is the more comfortable to use. And I think that has more to do with the width of the blade, because I've got more stability, would be a good word. I feel like I've got more stability with this one than I do the Wustenholm. Let's see here. I may have forgotten to tell you that I had been called for jury duty for yesterday. And so I shaved Sunday night after I spent all day, almost 6-7 hours, working on some razors and honed with them, 2 of them Sunday night. And that all went very well. I may recreate that on video later, so I'll not tell you right now the rate. Well, they're Thiers Assart were the razors, and using Shapton glass, honing them out to 30,000, and they performed excellently. But I wanted to shave Sunday night, so I didn't have to get up early. I was required to be there by 1 p.m., 1300, which was kind of odd. I've been called to jury duty before. You always had to be there at 8 o'clock. And speaking to a couple of my friends in the area that live nearby, they too were surprised at the later time. But nonetheless, shaved Sunday night, got ready, I could sleep in then on Monday morning, yesterday morning. Got myself ready, left the house here at about 11:45. Had to be there at 1300, public parking, 15 miles from my house to the municipal courthouse in Conroe, Texas. And made a quick bathroom trip before I went up to the jury room, the jury assembly room. And so it was 12:55 when I walked through the door, presented myself at the check-in desk, and the lady there very politely says, "Just a moment, sir. I'll be with you in just a little bit." And I don't know, a minute later, 90 seconds later, she looks at me, and I'm the only one standing there at the time, and I could see the assembly room. It was full, or near full. And she says with me, "Come with me, sir." I said, "Sure." And as she came out from behind the desk and I turned to exit the door into the hallway, two other people came in at the same time, and she says to them, "Folks, follow me, please. You're here for jury duty?" "Yes, we're here for jury duty." "Okay, follow me, please." "Okay, we'll follow you." And so we got about 10, 15 feet outside the door, and she stopped and turned suddenly, kind of awkwardly, and the three of us turned our backs against the wall, and gave way, so to speak, gave way. And because we didn't know what she was fixing to do. And she fumbled for a second. I don't know what she was thinking about, but we proceeded on down the steps to the first floor. And there was quite a line of people there, metal detectors they had to go through and so forth. And she says out loud, she says, "How many of you are here for jury duty?" And when we had our backs up against the wall, she said, "Y'all are going to be dismissed. Our jury pool is full to overflowing, and so y'all are going to be excused from jury duty." Yippee! But I had my excuse all lined up why I couldn't serve on a jury. I don't know that it would have been accepted, but I understand from what I've read and heard. Let me just say it this way, that I believe in jury nullification. And I understand that courts and judges don't like that. I've got a booklet. It's got all the quotings from Jefferson and Madison and the Founding Fathers and the Kentucky Resolution, I think it's called. I'm doing some of this from memory. I was going to sit there and read the pamphlet. I've got half a dozen of them here around the house. Citizen's Handbook, a Juror's Handbook. And I've read that 3 or 4 times over the last 20 years. It always seems like I read it when I'm in a jury selection room and I'm sitting and waiting for all the proceedings to begin, and so I'll give it a read. And it was interesting, it came up. I think I said something in the last video about my wife and I watching the series on Amazon called Jury Duty. And it was kind of a lark. It was all right. But what I found extremely interesting and what got my mind going on it was my own jury duty appearance coming up was when they had to swear an oath to give a faithful and true rendering or verdict based upon, and it said, based on only the evidence and the instruction of the court. Well, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because the whole point of jury nullification is, as the pamphlet says, is that the citizen, the individual, sits in judgment not only of the innocence or guilt or whatever, and I think it may apply only to federal courts because of dealing with stuff that Jefferson and Madison had written about the Constitution. But it said, you shall render faithful and true verdict only based upon, and it's the word only that galled me, upon the evidence and the instructions of the court. Well, wait a minute. The whole point of jury nullification is that the citizen has a right, and one of the few times when he's sitting on either a grand jury or a trial or civil, maybe civil, jury, is he sits in judgment of the law. Is the law constitutional? And I just remembered just now, there was a radio guy in Louisiana, if I remember his name correctly, it was Mike Church, and he used to speak on this from time to time, jury nullification. And of course he was on Sirius XM radio, and they deplatformed him to make way for other things. I've always heard that the modern judiciary takes a very dim view of citizens that believe in jury nullification, which, the gig's up. They've tried to hide or suppress that knowledge of the founding fathers, or at least Jefferson, and I believe Madison. And the Kentucky Resolution. As if the question of constitutionality and law were only a purview of the judiciary and the Bar Association, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, well, that's all I'll say. But fortunately, I didn't have to go through all of that. Their jury pool was full, and I got excused and dismissed, and that's just fine with me. I would have been happy. No, I didn't wear my MAGA hat. In there. And the reason is, of course, the old gentlemanly custom. It says so on the paperwork, gentlemen, men, please don't wear hats. It didn't say not to bring hats, it just said don't wear them. And I understand that. Man's not supposed to wear a hat indoors by the old rules of etiquette. So I get that. And I didn't want anything else in my hands to have to carry around, so I didn't wear a hat. But I did dress comfortably, quite comfortably. Very nice. And it's a very nice smell too, even though, the idea behind it is to smell like dirty water, dirty oceanic water. Give you a strong seaside smell. My wife had me on the patio this morning on a ladder with a bucket of water washing the fan blades on the 2 ceiling fans we've got out there. Yeah, we got it done. Didn't take too terribly long, less than an hour. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe Friday, remaining at home, back down to the truck on Friday night. And I'm gonna find out what time the thing loads on Friday, and I may go down. Yeah, 5 days is plenty to go, what would ordinarily take 3.5 days. So I don't see the need to have to go down. Any earlier than Friday night, get hooked up to the trailer, get a good night's sleep on the yard, maybe do a shaving video on the yard, as I sometimes do at the beginning of a load. Zingari Man is holding up fairly well with it's remaining thick. It's not overly lathering in the sense that a tobacco or Mitchell's wool fat would be, or maybe some of the Sterlings that I've got, or like Cella. That was a nice set of strokes right there. Felt like butter coming down there. Not bad for a pre-1891 George Wuston home. A razor that Abraham Lincoln might have used back in the day. Who knows? I can see Abraham Lincoln looking over at Sherman and Grant and say, hey, I forgot my razor at the White House. You guys, you generals got a razor that I can use? Well, yes, Mr. President. Here. Some of you may remember the Oregon trip that I took last year in April. My wife flew out to Portland to meet me. We went to go visit my high school buddy in Lincoln City and on the coast. And not far from the hotel that we stayed at, there was a restaurant. There is a restaurant that sits on some piers and sits right over the ocean. I don't remember the name of it. But this is kind of the image that I get, is that watching the waves of the Pacific Ocean crashing on the rocks below and coming up onto the windows of the restaurant. It was all very interesting, entertaining. And the smell and the sounds. I'm listening to this, I don't know if you can hear it very well, of this soundscape thing going on the television, and hearing the seagulls and the thunder and the lightning but the seagulls. Oh, very nice indeed. Feeling very smooth, feeling very crisp. Kind of the best of both worlds. The smooth versus crisp idea. Oh yes. Move over to the Dovo. A little off center, got to keep an eye on that as it closes into the scales. So you should do that anyway with every razor you have when you open and close it. It's just a safety precaution, something you should do. You know, not every hazmat load that's flammable is going to explode on you. In fact, I've never ever heard of one at our company in the long history, and I'm sure they would be happy to tell us about it and use it as a training exercise. But just because not every hazmat flammable load explodes on you doesn't mean you shouldn't take every safety precaution necessary to prevent against such explosions. So keep an eye on your razor as it goes down into the scales, and you'll be less apt to cry your eyes out. All right, go back over to the Wooston home. All right. Yeah, I got lost in the thunderstorm. I've been listening to the sounds and concentrating on the shave and enjoying myself. Just enjoying myself. All right, let's move on from that. Wash it down, final strokes, move to the head shave. Haven't had a head shave in about 4 days to be exact. on some additional hot water here. All right, face shave is done. Moving on to the head shave. I'm going to proceed with using the Dovo on the head shave. Okay. In my opinion, the secret to a good head shave with a straight razor is just lay it flat and make sure it stays flat as you move along the contour of the head. Now, last year, I was doing the whole head for a while, but that just now, I had too much on the sides. Yep, that's good on that side. I think that'll about do it. Well, almost. Okay, let's move to the back of the neck. All right, that's it. We're done. Thank you for staying with me. I've not had a lot to say after the opening little bit for a while there, and so if you stayed with me, appreciate you watching. Today we use the Dovo Waffenschmidt weapons smith is what that translates. Excellent razor, super well honed. And then we have the George Wostenholm with the vintage antique bone scales, almost like it was made for this razor. It's absolutely beautiful. And both of these were honed and JNat by Matt Lukey 3262. This one I sent him. I obtained it from my shop manager, and the other one he sent me to use, and we struck a deal on it, and he was very generous, and I thank you, Matt, for that generosity. And that's all I've got for today. My next shave will probably, I don't know, it may be Friday afternoon, late afternoon, early evening if I go down to the yard. If not, that may be it until I come back from this Ontario trip. That's it. I'll see you down the road. Thank you for staying with me.